And welcome here to more Talk FCB, and welcome to more reaction following that Barcelona versus Napoli game tonight. Barca are through to the quarter-final, winning the game there by 3-1. But what about the performance? And in particular, what about the individual display out there from the players that we saw in Quique Setién's lineup? We're going to be talking here about all the player ratings, and it's coming up for you. Let's get to it. And just to clarify here, the player rating system, these here are the rankings that we do have. And what I want you guys to do right now is just think in your mind, right, let's give every single player a completely clean slate. Going into this game, everybody starts on performing as expected. And then as that game goes on, who works their way there into overperforming and who drops down into underperforming? That's what you've got to bear in mind. That's where the ratings are going to come from. So come on. Let's get into it. Starting here with Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, who I don't think right the way through the game tonight didn't have an awful lot to do. I think if you think back to the first leg there in Naples, he came up with some big saves on the night. But tonight he wasn't really called upon. Obviously the penalty there, he was sent the wrong way. I think in the second half as well, there was a nervy moment. He actually watched the ball go very close to the goal, but it didn't quite go in. And I think overall Ter Stegen tonight has to go down there as an expected performance from him. Nothing too crazy, but he wasn't called upon too much. Then to Semedo, who I thought for me, very good tonight. I think particularly there in the first half, he made some excellent runs. There was a brilliant dribble there where he just took the ball, took it past 1, 2, 3 players, really energetic. And that's what you want to see from Semedo. You want to see him there taking it upon himself to make those driving runs and get forward. But of course, still you're looking for that final ball. But I think overall, Semedo today, a real bright spark. I'm going to go there as the first player today who overperformed. I thought there, out of everybody, he was one of the brighter players. And that's why he gets that ranking. Overperformed. Good today from Semedo. Then there was Jordi Piqué at centre-back, who in these kind of games, you want him to stand tall, you want him there to put in a convincing performance. I think overall, Piqué did pretty well tonight when he was called upon. He did deal with things, particularly their balls into the box. Napoli were putting a lot of crosses in there and corners. Piqué did deal very well with them. Obviously, a nervy start to the game. It bounced off in there. Mertens very nearly scoring. And for that reason, I'm just going to go there with Piqué as expected today. I think it was pretty good for him. He didn't really make any glaring errors. And I think when he was called upon, he did do well. So for me, as expected, the performance from Piqué. When it comes to Clement Lenglet, though, it was absolutely fantastic. And it's not just about his goal, obviously there for a centre-back when you go up for a corner, and it was a big goal in the game too. To get that first goal, it was a really good header there beyond Ospina, and that was a big moment. But I actually think there, his overall defensive game today, he was outstanding. Whenever there was a problem near, whenever there's anything happening around him, he was straight in there, he was committed, he was confident. I think that goal actually did give him confidence. He was flying in there with tackles, with blocks, and that's why I'm not just going to say today he overperformed, but I think today Lenglet, even though he's usually consistent, I think he vastly overperformed today because he was that good. He was a leader at the back, and that's what we're going to need. Coming up against good teams, better teams than Napoli, we need leaders in our defence. Lenglet, good signs tonight. For Jordi Alba, though, I wouldn't say, to be honest, he was all that involved. I think most of our play in terms of the fullbacks getting forward came through Semedo and not for Jordi Alba. That's actually quite rare when it comes to Barcelona. And I think tonight he wasn't all that involved. Defensively, too, not an awful lot went down the right-hand side. It was more, again, over the other side there with Insigne up against Semedo. So I think Alba today didn't do an awful lot wrong. He didn't do an awful lot right either. And that's why I'm just going to keep him there. As expected, the performance, not all that surprising. From Alba there, just about what we thought. Into midfield then, starting there with Ivan Rakitic, who's deployed there at the very base of midfield in that holding midfield role. And I gotta say, I don't think he played well. I don't think today it was a good game for Rakitic. He has had some good games after lockdown, there's no denying that, but this today was not one of them. Obviously, he gave away the penalty kick. That was questionable. That was silly, though, to go in like that. He didn't really want to give the referee the chance to make that decision. That was the problem there that Rakitic did. But I think overall, he wasn't really himself today. Of course, he had a few shots around the box. That was good to see. But in terms of his delivery, obviously the Lenglet ball was a good one. But other than that, he had some woeful crosses into the box. There was a corner there that barely even got off the ground. There was a free kick which went straight behind the goal. It was really strange today from Rakitic. And I think overall the distribution wasn't quite there. So I have to go with underperformed. He didn't play well, not what you'd expect from him of late it was underperformed. And I think alongside him there for Sergio Roberto, I would go along the same sort of lines. I don't think Sergio Roberto there did anything drastically wrong, but I think he was in the team to make things happen from midfield. He's in the team there to make some runs, to show some energy, to actually there break the lines and make a good run and actually combine their midfield and attack. But today, he didn't do any of that. I didn't really find that Roberto was involved in pretty much anything. I think defensively, he did help us out at times, and of course that's another reason why he is valuable in that midfield, but he didn't do enough for me today. Roberto has got more in his locker. We know what he can do as a player, and that's why today for me, it's underperformed for Sergio Roberto. Then to Frenkie de Jong, who in that midfield quite far and away was the best midfielder, and he actually, I think today, staked a claim for the best player out of anybody, because I think in that midfield, de Jong today was absolutely terrific in his passing. He was brilliant. I think he was by far one of the most energetic players, something that we were really lacking right throughout the team. I think when there was a loose ball, he was always there, wasn't he? He was always first to that ball, winning those 50-50s, and in a game like this, you need somebody like that, covering the ground and doing the really good stuff in midfield, but also going forward, he helped us too. He could have easily got an assist, and he deserved it for his ball into Messi, which of course was disallowed. But I just think de Jong today, all-round game, very, very good. For me, I'm going to go overperformed. Very, very close to saying vastly, but I'm just going to stick with over. He was very, very good, de Jong. So happy to see that. Always good to see him doing well. Into the front three, starting there with the match winner on the day, the man who deserved 2 goals. One of them, like I say, was disallowed, but it is Lionel Messi. An absolutely stunning goal, of course. He took on a few players, he went to the ground, he got back up again, and then he curled it past Ospina. We spoke about that in the match review. Absolutely incredible there from Messi. I thought he was going to take the penalty, although, of course, he had that knock from Koulibaly. He won it really well. It shows that pressing from the front can be rewarded. And I think Messi today, for most of the game, looked lively, looked energetic, looked very much like he could score goals. But obviously in that final stage, I think he did tire. I think a lot of the players out there really felt it as the game went on. It's not exactly encouraging to see that ahead of Bayern, but hopefully now we can have a few days, really important rest once again, even though, of course, they have just had that. But I think Messi, aside from all of that stuff, he won us the game. Brilliant goal, of course. Phenomenal from him. I'm going to say overperformed, because quite frankly, when you score a goal like that, when you do those kind of things, you've got to say, that is impressive. His strike partners, however, on the night for me were not as impressive. Starting here with Luis Suárez. Again, I don't think it's the worst performance we ever seen from Suárez. It wasn't absolutely catastrophic or anything like that. I think he stuck away his penalty really, really well. But aside from that, what did he give us tonight? What sort of input there were you looking at and you were thinking that is really, really good play? It didn't really happen. I think he was trying to put himself out there. He was trying to go tussle with the Napoli defenders, but quite often he just ended up on the floor and not an awful lot. So I'm going to say today for me, Suárez has to do more as that centre forward in these kind of games. You need your centre forward to step up and put in a good performance. You look at the way Gabriel Jesus played yesterday for Man City. It was absolutely brilliant. Suárez, for me, underperformed. Not quite good enough, but a great penalty, not disputing that. And if I'm saying that for Suárez, I'm going to be fair and say exactly the same for Antoine Griezmann. I think Griezmann was involved more than Suárez. I think Griezmann was actually coming into deep positions and getting the ball. But that's the problem. When Griezmann comes that deep, it's a similar sort of story that when it happens to Messi. When you have to come that deep to get the ball, it's so much ground then you've got to make up to actually make something happen. And that's why today, even though Griezmann was picking up the ball, he was involved at times, he didn't actually do anything destructive. He didn't actually cause Napoli a big problem in the way that he was going about the game. I would have much preferred him there to stay up close, up alongside Luis Suárez, so as a duo, they could try and make something happen and cause problems there as centre forwards. Today, didn't quite happen for him. Brought off, didn't look too happy either. Underperforming Antoine Griezmann. We need more from him, more like what we saw in the first leg, when he struck, of course, that decisive away goal, which was still key for us. No denying that. Now, obviously, Monchu and also Junior Firpo came on late on. I think Monchu actually played really well when he came on. Obviously, only had a few minutes to really show himself, but he did have some nice touches, some nice passes in that time, and it was really great to see him there make his Champions League debut. Absolutely fantastic for him, and Firpo was literally only on the field a matter of minutes. But for me, it's all about Quique Setién. We've done the players now. We've rated them. We really explored exactly where it went wrong out there today in terms of the performance. It wasn't quite enough from the players, but But could Quique Setién have done more? I think for me, obviously Setién has come into this game. He knows he had to win. He was putting it all out there. But I think you've got to be looking at that second half and you have to be thinking as a coach, what can I do to improve this? Because we weren't playing well in that second half. You can't just say there, oh, well, we didn't want to disrupt the game by subs because obviously we didn't want to disrupt the flow of the game. That can't be right because we weren't playing well. All you'd be disrupting is us falling back and back and back. And we're just lucky, really, that Napoli didn't score because then it could have got very, very nervy very, very quickly. And that's why today, for me, Setién has to be underperformed. I know that he didn't have the options. I know that he wasn't blessed today with so many players in his squad. But I think not to bring anybody on for 83 minutes of the game, that's inexcusable. And I didn't understand that from him. We need more from the players and we'll need more from him against Bayern in the quarters. So please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. What did you think today of the performance from Barcelona as a collective? But most importantly here, with the player ratings, what did you think about them individually? Who stood out for you? Like I say, they're looking at it. I think Lenglet was one of mine who really, really stood out. I think De Jong as well. And of course, Messi. Those are the three players there who played well, along with Semedo too. But what do you think? Let me know all of that stuff down below. Of course, there's going to be plenty coming up on both channels, on Talk FCB and also here on More Talk FCB, ahead of that massive game against Bayern. I will see you then. Thanks for watching, guys. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.